webinar, An Introduction to ISO TS 16949, 2009 version, hosted by QMI SAI Global. My name is Olivia Poon, and I will be the moderator for today's session. We would like to thank you in advance for taking the time to attend this webinar. Before we start, we'd like to go over some housekeeping details with you. First of all, if you can hear us but can't see the presentation up on your screen, please use the link you received in your email confirmation. During the webinar, you'll have a chance to interact with us in two ways. First, you can ask us questions using the question and answer box located in the top right-hand corner of your screen. We'll take note of your questions and answer as many as possible at the end of the presentation. You can always minimize this box by using the button with the three small arrows. Whenever you're ready to ask us a question, just simply reopen it by clicking on the same arrows. We encourage you to send your questions as you think of them during the presentation and not wait until the end so that our speaker will have some time to review them. The second way you can interact with us is through our quick polls. We'll be presenting you with some questions and you can answer them simply by clicking your response on the screen. Your presenter today is Ms. Mary Ellen Payne. Mary Ellen is a professional engineer and lead auditor for TS 16949 since 1992 with QMI SAI Global. Her prior experience includes 13 years of experience in manufacturing industry and in quality and technical positions. So without further delay, I'll now hand over the presentation to Mary Ellen.
Thank you, Olivia. Okay, the topic of this presentation is on the changes that have taken place with the TS standard from the 2002 edition to the 2009. I'll be covering reasons for the changes and reviews of the changes that will impact a registered TS 16949 2002 registered company. And then we'll have a question period at the end. And throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, please post them according to Olivia's instructions. Okay, we've included this slide just to give you some information of where you can find the latest information on the TS standard and the rules that accompany the standard. And it gives sanctioned interpretations, frequently asked questions. And if there are any different interpretations of the standard, the TS 2009 edition, as it's being implemented, this will appear on this website. Okay, so I'm going to cover the reasons why the TS standard was revised. The TS standard is primarily based on the ISO 9001-2000 standard, which in the standard itself is the box text, and the TS parts that were added onto the standard are the portions that appear outside the boxes. Because the ISO 9001-2000 standard updated, it was published in November the 15th, 2008. The TS standard also had to incorporate these changes, and this took a little bit of time, but the standard itself was incorporated and released on June 15th, 2009. The standard itself was changed. The ISO 9001-2000 standard was changed based on questions that have been asked by users of the standard, whether it's registered companies or certification bodies, throughout the life of the standard. They've been posted on the website of the ISO standard under frequently asked questions and sanctioned interpretations, and these have been included in the new standard. So these questions that did require clarification or editorials have been included in the standard now. I'll cover some of the next slide will cover changes to the ISO TS standard that are beyond those that are included in the ISO 9001-2008 standard. So there are a few points here. The replacement of a reference from product quality, which appears throughout the standard, to conformity to product requirements. Replacement of regulatory with statutory and regulatory requirements. This comes up in multiple references, and this is to line up with changes and synchronizing with the EMS, the Environmental Standard 14001. There's some title changes, 6.2.2, which is from competence awareness and training to competence, just slight change in the title. And 7.6 changed from control of monitoring and measuring devices to control of monitoring and measuring equipment. The references were made with the fundamentals and vocabulary were changed in the standard to line up with the current version, and also there are some changes then in the bibliography to delete obsolete references and include more relevant references. The timing of the standard, as I mentioned before, the TS 2009 standard was released on June 15th, 2009. Sanctioned interpretations, in fact, the TS standard includes the same references as the ISO standard does. They include sanctioned interpretations and frequently asked questions of the standard. They have included these. There are two sanctioned interpretations and frequently asked questions that will remain. These have not been deleted. Sanctioned interpretation 2005-06 is related to supplier quality management system development, and frequently asked question number 4 is just a reference to the customer reference manuals that are still applicable to the standard. All initial or recertification audits that happen after October 15th, 2009 must be done to the 2009 edition of the standard. Certification to the TS 2009 is not considered an upgrade. Current certifications to 2002 do remain valid until the next recertification audit. A revised certificate to the 2009 standard may be issued at the discretion of the registered company and the certification body, and this can happen only after the next surveillance audit that is conducted to the 2009 standard. It is not necessary. The oversight body is still recognized in the old edition of the standard. The revised certificate will not be given a new expiry date. It's going to carry on with the old expiry date of the previous certificate to 2002. And any initial or recertification audit conducted between June the 15th, 2009 and October 15th, 2009 will be based on the 2009 edition of the standard at the discretion of the certification body and the client. And we're almost done that period anyway, so in a couple of weeks, everybody will be audited to the new standard.
So now we actually have our first polling question. And thank you, Mary Ellen, for everything that you had spoken on. And our first question today is, what is your current registration status? And your choices are registered to TS 16949 2002, registered to ISO 9001 2008, registered to both ISO 9001 and TS 16949, pursuing registration to TS 16949, or not registered with no plans to register. So you can select your answer just by clicking on the screen. And it looks like we have 73% of you already voted, moving up to 82%. And I'll just give you maybe another 10 or 20 seconds so we can get a higher percentage. Now we're at 92%, so if I can just have a few more answers. Great, so it looks like it's sort of paused at about 93%. And it looks like, as for results, we have a split. 44% have registered to TS 16949, and 43% of you have registered to both ISO 9001 and TS 16949. Then we have a small percentage, 6% not registered with no plans to register, 4% at registered